Hi, welcome to another episode of Hit and Sunk Games, and this is going to be a board game battle edition. Today I've taken two themed Monopoly games. One is Avengers themed and the other is Marvel Comics, a collector's edition themed. I do have two separate videos for these games if you want to learn more, but for now we're going to put them head to head, so let's see which one comes out on top. Alright, so let's talk about shelf appeal. Which one of these Monopoly versions do I think looks the best? Let's start with the Avengers edition. I'm going to put it on the record, the Avengers aren't my favourite of superheroes, both in Marvel and outside, but I can appreciate what they've done with this box art. So you've got all the characters on the front, you've got Thor, Iron Man there, a very kind of different looking Hawkeye, much different to the movies, the Hulk, classic Captain America, Black Widow. Yeah, it's the Avengers as you know them from the recent films. And up the top, Mr. Monopoly, I guess you could call him like a Stan Lee maybe, looking down on everyone. It's a nicely presented box, and there's a nice blue city in the background, which, you know, on the contrast of the colours of the characters in the back, I think goes pretty well. So yeah, thumbs up for that. Let's take a look at the Marvel Comics edition. Now, already this is kind of more in my favour, and I'll tell you why. It's no secret if you follow me on Twitter at Hit and Sunk Games. I'm a big comic book fan. I've collected comics for years, and these kind of rare vintage comics, they are, you know, really cool. They're a great find if you have any. I don't have any of these ones. These are really rare. You've got Captain America 1, you've got X-Men #1 there, Amazing Fantasy #1. I mean, these comics, if you have them, they are going for thousands. I wish I had them. And that's why I like the cover of this box. But isn't it cool that along the top here, you've got the classic looking Captain America and Iron Man and the classic Hulk, how they were originally drawn when their comics were very first published. And then, you know, you compare and see how the artwork has gone on over the years on here. So quite a cool comparison. I think they would both look excellent on a shelf. If you've never played or seen Monopoly before, I think both of them would stand out. But for me personally, being in love with the comic books and certainly the vintage and retro books, I'm going to give shelf appeal to the Marvel Comics edition. So let's take a quick look at the quality of the components of each of the game. On the left, the Marvel Comics Collector's Edition version. I really like, you know, all these comic books around the sides here. Amazing Fantasy right there. Ghost Rider down here. Nice to see the classic Go sign, and if we just spin it around a little bit, you can see the Go to Jail up there. Those tiles always stay the same, I think, in all kind of versions of Monopoly. Same on the right with the Avengers board, circular, you see. In terms of the player pieces, the quality is really high. I did a video not that long ago of the Game of Thrones Monopoly, and the player pieces in that kind of are very similar to these. Really good quality. You've got, I think that's Doctor Doom's glove there. You've got the classic Captain America shield, Magneto's helmet. That's probably my favourite one. There's Hulk's smash fist, which is pretty cool. Hard to recognise, not green. And in my first look at this game, I wasn't actually sure what this piece was. I thought it was some kind of circuit. Turns out it's the SHIELD headquarters, of course. Yeah, very nice. And the money, I like the look of the money in the game. You've got the Silver Surfer on the front of the ones, Thor on the twos. There's a character basically on front of each one. I haven't got all the money out. Iron Man there on the tens. Really nice. Good detailing, I think, on the money there. And the same with the actual cards, which are used for various things in the game, like the Chance and Community chest. They've all got a retro picture on the front, which again is the theme of this game. It's not the new version of comics or the characters, it's the older ones. That's what Dr. Octopus looks like when he first was created, not now, all high tech. So yeah, the vintage look of the game, the detail, I really like it. In terms of the Avengers Monopoly, I'll just move this over slightly so you can see it all. The circular board is probably the main thing that really stands out. And I said it before in my first look video, it's nice that the Monopoly had done something different. A circular board just kind of changes really the whole view of the game. I really like it. I like the way the A kind of goes all the way through, sticks out at the bottom and the top there. Really nice. Unfortunately, it kind of goes a bit downhill from there, but I have to keep open-minded because this game is being targeted at a younger kind of generation, more kids. So for example, the player pieces, although kids I'm sure would think these are really cool, they're essentially just, lumps of plastic. There's no real detailing. You've got the Hulk, you've got the Black Widow there, there's Thor and there's Iron Man. I much prefer the kind of, the hard steel versions, like in the previous Marvel Comics version that we were looking at. So yeah, I'm not a fan of these, but I can see how children, young kids, would actually probably love them. We've got the cards, which are split into heroes and villains, or sorry, shield and villains. And again, in my first look, I said, why is villains not Hydra if they've got the Hydra logo and shield is shield? Well, of course, now I know what the main objective is. The game is, it's about villains. So yes, of course it would be villains, but I kind of still wish it had been Hydra. Just shield v Hydra makes more sense to me. And then you've got the power. So we're not dealing with money here. We're dealing with power, and these are all the power notes. And again, I just think it just looks a bit simple, but being open-minded, I think kids would find this really easy to just pick up and grasp. But I mean, for me, if you compare, the detailing of each one, I think the Marvel Comics one has it. So there are a few things in the Avengers board that I do like. The board itself, don't really like the player pieces. I like this character die with the kind of emblems of each character on. That's really about it. So I'm definitely leaning more towards the Marvel Comics piece game in terms of the quality of the components, and I'm going to give that one the win. Alright, so let's talk about how these two versions of Monopoly play. What's really cool about them, and with all the themed Monopolies out there, is they all follow the main foundation, the main kind of rules of the original Monopoly, and that's great. Both of these Monopolies have a few small tweaks just to kind of lean it a bit more towards the theme they're going for. So we've already had a look at the pieces and the board. With the Marvel Comics version, it's about buying the comics. It's not about property. It transforms the game, I think. For me, the nostalgia and kind of the want of purchasing some of these ultra rare comic books, I'm probably never going to be able to do it in real life. So it's nice to have a bit of escapism, play the game and pretend that I am actually buying X-Men #1, Fantastic Four #1, Amazing Fantasy #1. That's pretty cool, pretty nice little twist there. But everything else is essentially staying the same. You've got your chance and community chest cards, but as I've showed you, it's just with the Marvel kind of twist and theme on it. Things are a little bit more different with the Avengers version of Monopoly. They've tried to do a little bit more, certainly with the circular board, as I said, a nice little touch there. And dealing with hero points, power. I call them hero points, more or less the same thing. But yeah, dealing with power instead of money. It's definitely more geared towards the kids, trying to make it easier for them to pick up. But again, it essentially plays the same way. Although, because this was actually a new way of playing for me, dealing with power and not money, I actually found myself reading the rules, which I have not read Monopoly rules for donkey's years. Anyway, how they play is pretty much identical. It's hard to separate these, but in terms of the fun factor of playing, I think younger kids might very well enjoy the Avengers version more. But for me, as a lover of comic books and a collector, then I'm going to go with the Marvel Comics edition. So now let's talk about the difficulty level. Now, if you haven't played Monopoly before, it is a really, really simple game to learn. I learned it when I was a very, very young kid. And, it's the type of game that you don't even need to refresh your memory on the rules. You could not play it for 10 years. Pick it up, have some friends around, And it's just like that. It's a real simple game. Even though maybe for a first time looker with all these things going on the board, it looks complex, it certainly is not. As I've said, the Avengers, they've tried to just tweak it a little bit, targeting a bit more for kids, making it easier for them to pick up. I suppose maybe dealing with power, you know, imagining your heroes to have power and stop the villains is probably easier for a kid to pick up rather than going into financial stuff. Great way for them to learn maths. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the, I lean towards the classics with this, but I am going to say that they are both very easy to play. They are not difficult at all. If you are a family watching this video and you have not played Monopoly, which I personally I could not believe, but you know, you have to get your kids this. Kids need to play Monopoly. So the difficulty level is very easy to pick up. Do you know what? I think the original Monopoly is dead easy to get into, but I'm actually going to give this one to the Avengers Monopoly because I appreciate what they're trying to do, making it a bit simple to target the younger market. So yep, difficulty level goes to Avengers Edition. Now let's talk about the replay value of these games. I'm going to put it out there. Monopoly is one of those games that I don't like playing too often because it can be such a long game. That being said, when you have the time, when you're ready to commit and play this game, it is fantastic. And it's kind of like movies, you know, some of the best movies that I don't like to watch them again and again because they're either too long or they're too deep, you know, thinking. The games are the same. You don't want to play Monopoly every single day, but the replay value is certainly there because every time you play this game, things are going to go differently. You're going to be buying different properties, you're going to be doing different things. The roll of the dice might be more in your favour or less in your favour. So it's always going to be different, and certainly playing with other people, their tactics might be completely different to the previous people you played with. And you, in turn, will have to adjust your tactics. That's why I think the replay value of Monopoly, both of these versions, is always going to be there. This is a game that you can always take out as a staple board game, you know. Some board games you'll love one day, you'll hate the next. Some, you know, are constantly good. Some are constantly okay. Monopoly is one of those games that is always going to be consistently great. It's a fantastic game. Everyone of all ages should play this. So I can't separate them. They are essentially following the same rules, the same foundations as any classic Monopoly. So I'm going to give this one a tie for replay value. Okay, so we've spoken about shelf life, we've spoken about the components, how they look, how they feel. We've talked a bit about the difficulty level and the replay value. You know, there isn't much between them because they are essentially the same game. What I plan to do in this series going forward is to review a lot of games that are different, but I couldn't help reviewing two games, you know, kind of Marvel themed, but with a few slight changes. You know, you've got your circular board there for the Avengers, and also dealing with power rather than money. And also I like the Marvel Comics version where you're actually buying these rare comic books rather than property. So both of these games do a really good job in being a little bit different, being a bit out there, but staying true to the roots. Obviously, looking at what I've kind of awarded to each game, my personal favourite, I'm going to go with the Marvel Comics edition. This is the game that I will be getting out with my friends, and we will be having a good laugh for this. I am going to give a lot of credit to the Avengers edition because I see what they're doing. They're trying to bring in a younger generation into the world of Monopoly, tweaking the rules, making it a bit simpler, you know. Yes, they might have sacrificed a few bits of quality. You know, the pieces aren't great, plasticky, rather than, you know, the kind of hard Monopoly ones here, and a lot of other themed Monopoly games have these good quality components as well. Not so with the Avengers edition, but as I say, I appreciate what they're trying to do. So by no means am I saying it's a rubbish game. I'm saying if you're getting young kids into Monopoly, that's a great game to go for. But in terms of which one I think is best, which one I'll keep playing, which one I'll keep bringing out with friends, I'm going to give this board game battle to the Marvel Comics Collector's Edition.